Hello and welcome. My name is Marcus Pavidaman and I'm a backup engineer here at Zmanda. And together we're going to take a look at the ZRM 3.4 install. So that's the Zmanda Recovery Manager from MySQL. So the first thing we're going to do is download the software and the license file. And so in order to download your software, you go to network.zmanda.com. You see here that I'm already on this page. And you see here there's an email and password. So you just enter your email address and password to log in. So I'm just using this one here. And once you're logged in here, you see there's quite a few resources here. And on the download page here, you see the software that you can download, and you will find the ZRM server down here. So here you see the ZRM server, and you can download it like this. Make sure you have pop-up blockers disabled, otherwise you might not even see this here. And so while this is downloading, we can take a look at a few other things on the Zmanda network page. So on this page here, you will also see the clients that you will need. So when you look at this here, you see a Linux server, and you will need to install a ZRM client on any MySQL server that you want to back up. And you see here, for example, I can use this pull down to select the Linux client RPM. So that would be for Red Hat. And I can also download that here. And then what I will also need is going all the way to the top here is the download, the license file. I'll do that too. And so the license file will afterwards on the install to be moved to the location etc Zmanda, and then in that directory, and you change the permissions to 644. Now let's take a look at a few more things here. So for example, on the resources tab, you can see there's white papers here. And there's quite a lot of resources that can be interesting, best practices and guides of all types. Then on the documentation page here, it directly guides you to our documentation site here. And in this case, this would be ZRM 3.4. So you can click on this here. And obviously now that we're installing, the system requirements is a really important page. That'll show you a little bit what kind of system requirements ZRM has. So it also depends on which system you're installing. See here, packages you would be able to install with Yum on a CentOS or Red Hat system, an apt-get if you're using Debian or Ubuntu. And prerequisites is really, normally on a Linux system, there's a lot of stuff already installed that you won't have to install. One thing that is really important to not forget is the MailX package in order to have mail notification, and also the xinetd package. And if you don't have these installed, when you run the installer is gonna tell you that you're missing these dependencies. And it will take a while, but eventually the installer will gracefully abort. So it's always good to do this beforehand. You see here that we also have a version of ZRM for Windows, but there's a few limitations. One of them is that it can only run on a 30-bit Windows platform. So make sure that you take that in account. So at this point, the download has finished, and you want to copy that to your Linux system. We'll assume for the install now that it is a Linux system that you're installing it. And you could use, for example, WinSCP to copy the file from Windows, in case you're using Windows, over to the Linux box. It uses the SSH layer for that. So I have a virtual machine here that you can see. And you see here in this directory, I have already the file copied over. Now it is important to, before you execute the installer, to make it executable, because normally when you copy over it won't be. So you just do a chmod 770. So that will give the user and the group full access, including execute rights. So you can just do that like that. And then if you look at the installer, you see that it has full execute privileges. And then you just execute it like this. Make sure you do a // since you're in the same directory. This is a convention for running executables if you're in the same directory. And at this point, the installer will start running. It's pretty automatic, and will figure out a lot of things automatically on your system. But make sure that you allow it enough time to run. And sometimes it can take a long time. And if it fails for any reason whatsoever for dependencies, make sure you do not abort it with Control-C, like Control-Caesar. Because what can happen is that the installer will fail, and it will fail to install the uninstaller file, at which point you can be in a dead-end situation. You cannot reinstall it because it's installed already, but you cannot uninstall it automatically. Because the uninstaller file isn't there yet. So you'll have to remove it manually. So it's always good to just let it terminate gracefully, even if it complains that certain dependencies have not been met. So there's the end user license agreement, which you can just read like this and confirm. And now here it'll ask you for the server port. The backup software really uses a Apache web server, and we install that on the Linux machine where you install ZRM. And in case you would have already an Apache web server installed, it could peacefully coexist with that one. Now I'm specifying here HTTPS, which is the recommended port that uses encryption, which is always recommended. So in case I would have an Apache web server running already, it would actually tell me here that the port 443 for SSL is already used, and that I should specify another one. In that case, you just specify any port you want. So favorite one is, for example, 81 or 82. And then it will just install the Apache web server like that, and you can then point your browser and just use that port instead. So I'm just running the installer. And the first thing it does, it is uncompressing the files. And it might look at times like it is stuck, but it's important to just let it run, even if it takes like half an hour. On some systems, it will do that, on maybe slower systems. So we'll just, to save time, we'll just fast forward here when the installation process is finished. So now you see the installer has finished, and you see some additional information. So the login password and name is admin for the web console. There's a few more pointers here. All right. And at this point, we can check the services. With this command to make sure that all the services are running after it has been installed. And you see here, except the RSS service, all of them are running currently. So at this point, the web server is running, and you can connect to it with any browser from any system. All right, and after the server is installed, you can point it to the host name. So in my case, this is called like this. And this is what you see then. This is the web server on your Linux system, and you can log in with admin and you're ready to configure your backup, which we will deal in another video. Now some background information in case you're running into any kind of problems. If you're logged into network.zmanda.com, you can go to the support page, and here you'll see the knowledge base. So there's a few things here that you might run into that you can get up here. Then there's a possibility to go ahead and create a case. This is especially important if you need to collect logs and attach them to the case or upload them via FTP here. And then there's also a possibility that you can look at your cases that are still open and interact with them directly here. The documentation page I mentioned already. You can also always get to documentation by going to docs.zmanda.com. And you'll always see it here, ZRM 3.4. And so there's two versions of the manual. You can do a printable PDF, or you can just click here. And then you see the different tabs. And this shows quite a lot of detail here. Thank you very much for your attention.